I asked why you didn't argue for more than Jim Kenney.
And when you use the $50 million, let me say this to you. When you talk about arguing for more than Jim Kenney, it's a $1.3 billion private sector investment with a $50 billion CBA. That ultimate $50 billion CBA. I mean, 50 million, not billion, $50 million 50 billion, she's over there, $50 million CBA with no public substance. Now listen, let me say this. Wherever we have to go, whatever we have to do, I don't know what the future holds. I know I want to rebirth the Market Street. I know I talked about intergovernmental cooperation. I know the city of Philadelphia alone can't bring Market Street back. State Representative Kajewski is here, Almond Brown is here. I'm so glad that you've been so active in this process and being organized. When it comes time for us to talk about rehabbing and bringing life back to Market Street, we're going to call on the Philadelphia delegation. We're going to say to our chairwoman, Morgan Seekers, we're going to come door to door and say to each of you, we want to bring life back to Market Street because we want to grow the economic pie. I think they're going to help us do that. I have no reason not to. They already, our speaker, our appropriations chairman, and our leader, Bradford, and Benson Hughes, our chairman on the city side. We all want Philly to win. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Shalom Davis. I am a member of the resident council of what used to be the People's Townhomes. What used to be the Buildings and Children's Laughter have been replaced by the din of traffic and wind. I understand the commitment to restore the units of housing. That unit is to be restored at what I regard personally as sacred ground. I understand and I respect the intelligence of the gentleman that spoke to the fact that of the 500 employees, there were 3 black people. I'm from Jamaica. I understand that history. But the reason why you and your office were able to secure the deal is in no small part to the advocacy that kept your feet to the fire to make sure that every effort was made to preserve the townhomes, and in the failure of that effort to make sure that you stay on your commitment to restore the units. So far,
Tell me your name again.
Sherman Davis. We have had several meetings with members of the past administration. We have had sit-downs with Councillor Gautier. I have personally laid down the signposts that I would regard as units in which I can place confidence that the people's, the restoration and the right of return and all the other important things will be held in place. I have not seen so far in any attempt at communication the effort to make sure that we continue to have our say in how that place is restored. The magic of the people's homes is because it wasn't as sad as 14 floors of sardine cans stacked on each other. It was a spread out community. And we did not have to reinvent the wheel because that was the lighthouse that represented the potential of health in public housing. Now, very quickly.
I want to say, you got to say it slow because I chopped up your name. Say your name again.
Americans say Sheldon as in...
Sheldon, okay, Sheldon.
No, I said that to say this. Development of this nature have always resulted in displacement. It is almost inevitable. What can the people take as the Rubicon beyond which this administration will not cross to ensure the survival of Chinatown as it sits now?
So Sheldon, let me say this. I appreciate that. Let me wait for you. I'll listen to you.
I know, I'm just stepping away to that.
I want to answer your question. I don't know not my district.
I understand.
This was her district. But I want to say this in front of her. Listen to me, you're from Jamaica. I want you'll appreciate this. I don't laugh if it's not funny. I don't scratch if I don't itch, and I don't dance if I don't like the song. If you communicated since I've been in the mayor with Councilwoman Jamie Gaultier and she told you she had to twist my arm, excuse me, I'm talking about what this gentleman just said. Councilwoman, I'm talking about what this gentleman just said. If anybody, because I didn't communicate with you, that's your district council member. Anybody telling you that they had to pressure me to get me to do what was right? We work for a legislative process. We work in every district council person just like I did. You have goals and objectives for your very specific district. And we all, we work to secure as much as we possibly can for each of our districts. But if anybody communicated to you or the people who live there that they had to come, put something in my hand to tell me that's not accurate, if I didn't believe it, then we wouldn't have done it.
But that is not what I said.
No, that is what he said, Councilwoman.
But that is not
That's what he said.
Madam Mayor, that is not what I said.
That's what he said,
That's
Councilwoman.
not what I said.
He said I had to be pushed. He said I had to be pushed to do the right thing. Yes, sir.
That's not what I said.
Yes, sir.
I said the previous administration, not yours. I did not make reference to your administration.
Yes, you can, Councilwoman.
You're so welcome. Thanks so much. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer.
Oh boy. All right.
Let's
Okay.
do it. You got this. You got this.
Just 30 seconds. My question was about a math problem.
Yes.
The problem is pretty simple. According to the Sixers' own impact study, the streets around the arena are only going to avoid gridlock, just like traffic deadlock, if only 40% of the people going to the game drive. The problem is that 85% of the people going to the Wells Fargo Center currently drive. The math problem is how to subtract 45% of the people who currently drive. I think Councilmember Gatti, my council member, rightly asked today at the hearing how the Sixers plan to make this math problem work. Their answer was, I think, an education campaign, which they have money earmarked for in their budget. I don't think the problem is that people don't know that there are trains they can take into the city, right? The problem is that the trains don't run. They don't have trains near them that they can take. And frankly, I have a hard time believing that they're going to subtract that 45%. Even if they do, that means an additional strain on the infrastructure that a lot of people here have already pointed out is not working so great in the first place. Right? My question is, how can you say that a deal which in the worst case will create an unmanageable amount of gridlock and in the best case place an additional strain on our already crumbling infrastructure in the city, the best deal possible?
I'm going to try and address this in a previous question. So, this is a downtown stadium arena. It's not at the end of a line. It's served by not just the Broad Street line, like the stadium is, but also the Market Frankfurt line, and there's 14 regional rail lines that run through here. So there's a lot more public transit at this location, in addition to bus lines that crisscross the whole grid network. So the opportunity for people to take transit in the stadium district is way, way lower than it is in Center City, which is why when people commute to work in Center City, the transit share is around 40%. And when they commute to work in the stadium district, it's around 10%. So this is the baseline for people actually using transit. It's much higher. So I just want to kind of respond to the idea that people using transit is a strain on the infrastructure. It's part of what operating a transit system is. You want people on that. You don't want to keep people away from the trains and the stations that you build. That's why it's there, so that people can use it. More strain takes place when people come and go to work every day than we'll see from this arena. More travel will take place when people go to and from work every day right now than will be on the arena. The fact is that there's a cost that was put out there by SEPTA when they looked at what I think is kind of the worst case scenario from their perspective. And what I saw was a number between about $20 and $25 million. And what that's focused on is they looked at those 14 lines and they figured that they would want to make sure they had 30-minute service so that they could encourage people to use transit after the games. And they looked at 7 lines in particular where they wanted to add a total of 21 new trips. We've had this study for about 3 weeks, a little bit more than 3 weeks. The Sixers have had it for about the same time. And so we're trying to, in conversation with SEPTA, look at some of the assumptions that they've made and figure out which one of those assumptions are the strongest and which ones maybe they should take another look at and what we can do to work together. Just for example, I'm looking at their own study. It's figure 4.3. They list the lines. They identified the Chestnut Hill East line. They expect 71 people from the event to use that train, and yet they're suggesting that they would need 3 additional trains for these 71 people. And the cost of that 3 more trains is $1.3 million for 71 people. So we may want to look at that and suggest that maybe those 71 people take a different way of transportation. Maybe they can Chestnut Hill East, drive to the Broad Street line. Take the Broad Street line down. You can walk from Center City Station, 15th Street, to the arena, and then you don't necessarily need to have that train. So the cost benefit of the work that they did, we're going to be working with them on. There's certainly an opportunity for us to look at rescheduling some of the trains that now may get to the station around 9:15, right before the game ends. What if those trains ran after 9:30? So you don't need a new train, you use existing train, and you run it at a different time. The Sixers are interested in what would happen if there were a couple trains that were in reserve. They were either taking one of the platforms. Their idea was to bring in some folks who'd worked with SEPTA in the past and look at how they could use Powelton Yards, which is next to 30th Street Station, or Roberts Yards, which is near Wayne Junction, and basically do what they do in NRG Station for sports games, keep those trains on call, and just run those trains when they're needed when the event runs out. Now, that's not free, but it's a lot less expensive than it is to create the service 7 days a week, which would run after 10 p.m. where it doesn't exist. So not all the ideas are going to be good, but some of them we expect will be good, and it'll bring that number down, which does leave the question how that gap is going to close. And the mayor said before, the city did its part. We showed the money, we came up with the money, and we expect the Sixers and SEPTA to come to an agreement which provides the rest of that.
Thank you very much. My name is Anna Sassman. I have lived in the Third District for almost 30 years. I have 2 public school kids here. I want to start this by taking a moment to thank Councilmember Gauthier, who's been a really powerful advocate, not just on this, but on many other issues that impact the whole city. So I just wanted to make sure that you heard and felt that here in the room. I'm thinking a lot about Donald Trump taking the reins of the country in just a few weeks. And when I think about the resources that we need in order to sort of combat that, thinking about not just things like, the violence issue that Sergio was speaking about, but our immigrant communities, our public schools, we're about to face a lot of punishment. And with that in mind, why wouldn't you use your power, which is extraordinary? You're an incredibly convincing and powerful speaker, and obviously you have a very strong team. Why wouldn't you use that team to try to get $300 million or more from this powerful institution that you're trying to bring into Center City? Because we need those resources now more than ever.
Hannah, let me say that I want to answer you one. Thank you, Hannah, for very clearly and succinctly asking your question. You asked, Why didn't you get 300 million more for that CBA out of the Sixers? And the fact of the matter is, Hannah, there were some people who said, I don't know if you all knew this, how many people knew that the Sixers had a training facility that's in Camden? Anybody know that? I used to be the chair of the Delaware River Port Authority, Hannah. Boyer was, and then Governor Wolf appointed me. Every time I went into my office in the DRPA, I looked out the window and I saw them there. And I would say, they do not belong in Camden. This is supposed to be in Philadelphia. But we got to look forward, right? I thought about the city of Philadelphia not having to make any taxpayer investments in what this team was proposing for the arena on Market Street. I also thought about the tax revenue. I thought about the pilot. I thought about the $50 million. And I kept coming back to, this is about leveraging. And I don't want you to think I don't respect basketball. I don't like basketball. I love 83 Sixers. I was outside with Doc and Moses Malone, but banging the pots and pans. But this was about beyond the basketball for me, and that we could leverage this to even get much more than a $300 million investment that could come from the private sector. His name was Lance, he was here. He was from SCIU, and he talked about those buildings, Hannah, right now, that are vacant, that SCIU fought to make those good security jobs, good janitorial jobs, living wage, healthcare, retirement security, and now they're gone because the buildings are empty. So for me, Hannah, I looked at it as economic opportunity. Somebody said I did a bad job because I should have made the Sixers, they want me to be bad, I should have made the Sixers move the training facility from Camden. I should have made the Sixers move the training facility from Camden to Philadelphia. I'm looking forward. Wasn't responsible for a lot of what occurred in the past. I used the data and the information that was before me to make the most informed decision that I possibly could, that I thought would lift up the future of Philadelphia. And I just respect you for being direct and, and saying, look, maybe this was good for you, but I think you should have got 300. That's just a straight shooter. That's just being direct and saying, you're good to you, but let me tell you where I am. I respect that, but this is what we were able to do, and I did the best I could with the tools I had. I appreciate you. I can talk to you, Hannah, about what we agree to disagree about, forever. Yes.
I gotta be super succinct. This is for the room, a temperature check. Raise your hand really high if you feel like this was a meeting where you feel like your voice was heard and your concerns were really adequately and concisely addressed.
Raise your hand if you feel like you heard from people who live in Chinatown who will be directly impacted by the arena. Raise your hand if you feel like this wasn't just a big janitorial cleanup campaign from Mayor Parker who's just trying to clean up the mess. This is a big PR thing. You didn't actually listen to the people. Why didn't you listen to the people before you made your decision? That's my question. Why did you not listen to the people before you made your decision?
Tell me your name.
My name is Sade Nichols.
Sade?
That's right.
So,
educator to educator.
Okay, teacher to teacher. I like that.
18 years in class.
Sade.
I can't tell you to look at you, gotta look at the whole class.
Okay, all right. Sade, let me say this. You and I may agree to disagree about what you think this forum meant and the way that I conduct and organize meetings. But like you were organizing, I've been organizing since I was 17 years old. And I know how to do things decently and in order. And I had to work with Republicans who are ultra-conservative, who I fought with. And I could fight, you hear me? And we would debate and we would rumble. But I also know how to be respectful to people who I may agree to disagree with. And for the people who have said that they don't feel like I've listened to Chinatown, every time you say that, you're negating all of the work that my team has done. You're negating when you say that I haven't listened. Just raise your hand, every meeting that John Monlack can summarize, because he worked under the Kennedy administration as well. Pages and pages, the law department's team. You are negating all of that work. How do I become mayor of the city? Oh, I've only been here since January. How do I get here and make a decision like this without relying on my subject matter experts who've been here? So listen, say, this is what I'll take. You haven't listened to the community in a manner that is sufficient to us. You didn't do it the way we thought that you should do it. Now I'll take that because now you're agreeing about how to structure a meeting, but I'm listening to you right now. I never had a meeting that I organized to talk about this subject matter and I didn't listen. I don't care if it was the same Chinatown coalition and people who are against or people who are for. I'm here because I'm a good listener. I'm an active listener. You don't make it this far to be the only person that no one thought could have the potential to become mayor, because I was the least funded candidate and the only true working families candidate who really had to go out and get a job while I was a candidate, because I had to work in order to keep my household going. I would not be here if I wasn't an active listener. And I listened through the experiences of these people, the research that was conducted, and then my own meetings.
Thank you for the eye contact, but not for the non-answer.
Okay, listen, and I respect that too. I heard you being Parker, but I don't feel what you're saying, don't believe it. That's a real feeling. Yes. Say no.
My name is Evan Cleary, thank you so much. I just want to ask you, please protect Chinatown. If this agreement does go through in the neighborhood in Washington Square West, and all the local residents, because these 7% renters. There's 40% of people that they want to take SEPTA, and then there's 41% max that can drive before there's gridlock. I'm just wondering, the report doesn't specify the other 20%, so maybe Mr. Mike can answer. Just wondering what that other 20% is.
Yeah, so that'll be people who walk, take ride share, bike, you know, who live in the area or may.
Respectfully, is the auto transit cited in the report not include rideshare?
It does not include rideshare. Those are drive alone people. Yeah. So.
Don't leave. What's your name? Don't leave. Wait, I want him to answer you. Wait.
Evan.
Evan.
I mean, that's basically the answer. The thing I wanted to point out, though, is that what you're looking at in those numbers is not inconsistent with what we see in other areas. So it's not like it's a number that's just totally aspirational. The key is that the capacity needs to be there, and that's where SEPTA had been coming from and the work that they did.
Evan, I'm telling you, Evan, I love the way you started your question. Now, it was like you just sent me back to the floor of the House. Although I don't agree with this proposal that's before the House, if it does become law, I want you to ensure that Philadelphia has X, Y, that's what you do. So my staff is not going to let you leave without getting your contact information, because I want to talk to you and I want to talk to Hannah, because you all are going to make sure it's God's will that this becomes the rule of law of the city of Philadelphia and we move forward. I want you and Hannah to help to advise me on how I'm doing to make it good on my commitments, because you spoke truth to power today, even though we agree to disagree. Respectfully, thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hi, how are you? My name is Nadia Graves. I am living in Southwest Philly, and I would like to thank my council representative, Jamie Gautier. I'm very happy about the way she's been representing me on city council. I'm actually not originally from Philadelphia. I'm actually a transplant from 44 miles away in a small Pennsylvania town called Coatesville. So my family escaped sharecropping there and found refuge in a steel town. And Black families have built prosperity, so my family has been there for over 100 years, and I invested a lot in the community. I even served as a city council member and had to take a similar vote to the city council members that are before us today, and I was the lone dissenter against the National Sports and Events Complex Center. I seen it as a bad deal, and I seen the tax abatement as harmful to our community, and the rent got so high that I could no longer afford to live in the community. that my family had fought so hard to build prosperity for me in. And so I know what displacement looks like from Coatesville, Chinatown to West Philly, and our communities have witnessed the predatory effects of development firsthand. So this is really personal to me, and I want to know is like, what is going to be put in place to protect the people who live in Chinatown and also all Philadelphia residents from predatory billionaires and displacement from gentrification.
So tell me your name again.
I'm Nadia Graves.
Nadia?
Nadia Graves.
Nadia Graves. Nadia, you said you lived in Coatesville. I did my student teaching at Coatesville High School from Lincoln University. Very familiar with the community. And the story that you described is what I lived here already. You heard me describe what I lived through growing up. And it wasn't a whole lot of people coming to save my neighborhood and the businesses that are in there. That's why we remain committed. And when you ask me, what are we going to do? It's obvious that the $1.6 million that you see and what the line item in the CBA, I think, what do we call it, a business disruption fund? It's obvious that that alone is not going to be all that we need to do. The reason why I appreciated both Jesse and John Mondelak's presentation is because both of them said out loud what we know to be true. Our Chinatown has been suffering long before there was discussion about a proposed arena being there. I wasn't the mayor 4 years. I'm the mayor right now. I'm saying yes to this on my watch. I'm working in partnership with Council President Kenyatta Johnson and Mark Squilla, both who are very, very strong advocates for the city of Philadelphia, along with all of the members of the City Council of Philadelphia. How do we deal with displacement? 30,000 units of housing in the city of Philadelphia that don't have anything to do with the arena. The building of new, the preservation of existing. We do public, we do workforce, we do affordable, we do seniors, we do veterans. We have to do all of that together. But in order for us to do it the way we need to do it, and the finance director is here, Rob will tell you. And I don't know, maybe, because I know sometimes legislators and Councilwoman Gautier and Representative Krajewski, you may know about this, Rob. I see a whole lot of elected officials who know how to spend money. They're really good at telling you how the righteous, moral, pure way, righteously, Alva, do it this way, morally pure. Okay, you're good at spending. How you gonna help me grow the pie? Where's the pie? Can't get the 67% of the total revenue that runs our city is $3.3 billion from business taxes. If I want 30,000 units of housing, we have to be able to pay for it. Look at Rob and Sabrina get nervous every time you talk about spending money. I guess that's what the finance director and the budget director, what they do. You gotta figure out how to grow the economic pie in order to make it happen. This decision making for me, it's not just emotional. It's worth the investment because of what it produces. It's the return on investment for me. And sometimes I think I'm just too direct and, people want you to say things a different kind of way, but this is bigger than the arena. It's bigger than basketball. And how are we going to protect people from displacement? Put them on a path to self-sufficiency, give them access to economic opportunity, help them with housing here in the city of Philadelphia, make the dream of home ownership readily available to Philadelphians and people who come from places like me. And that's how you can help people. But we got to bring unions to the table, private sector developers to the table, PHA under the leadership of Kelvin Jeremiah. He's amazing. He's got to be at the table. I'm thinking about Mo Rushdie. I'm thinking about Turner Key, the philanthropic community. Everybody's got to be at the table in order to help us. Some people are really the expert articulators of problems. That's what the expert AOPs. They can articulate the problem, but ask them, have they ever been a part of being an architect of a long-term solution to a very complex issue, especially when you didn't control it? That's we're going to use every tool that we have. Why? And I hope you will believe, because my track record says so. Not a speech, my history watch. I just won't let it happen.
I'm Aaron Harriet. I just live a block away from this building. Let me just first say that I was saying to my wife that when I usually see her on the television, on the news, but I thought you were taller, you know.
And you better not tell that that's because I don't have my heels on. That's for flats, you know.
Let me just say first too that I'm happy for the transition. You know, the transparency is healthy, it shows democracy. You know, I come from a country where you don't find these things so easy. So I appreciate it in America. But I have three concerns here. I want to divert a little from the regular, you know, the 76ers and the whole idea of the safety thing. I'm not so afraid with all these issues. But I'm talking about the cleaning of the streets, firearm control, and the
street cleaning, firearm control.
Yes, and a part of the curriculum in the Philadelphia School District. Three things, quick questions. I've noticed, I've seen trucks moving around, cleaning the streets. And I think it's a good gesture. I must say that.
You think it's what?
I believe it's a good gesture.
Thank you.
But my question is, my concern is, how practical can you clean the streets and maintain it? You know, in terms of from the resources point of view. Cleaning it is one. Maintaining it and keeping it clean is another. Wow. The thing I'm thinking is that I don't know if you can keep it clean without bringing the people in the loop of the cleaning. Because you don't clean a city or keep a city clean because government do. You keep a city clean when you help people to come on board with their civic responsibility and to understand their space. Yes? The second thing with the firearm control that I want to address, the idea that I noticed in Philadelphia, setting the firearm is easy to access. You know, the very little vetting goes on with firearm. You know, I noticed that. You know, I'm thinking that is it possible for you to have at least say 3 times per year, maybe once a quarter?
Do what?
Is it possible for you to have a situation where 3 times per year, firearm owners comes in for evaluation to find out if they're still capable of keeping a firearm? That's one. And the second thing is...
Stop, you asked 3. We're going to get back to the cleaning, but the lawyer, that was very good. He talked about firearms, and State Rep Krajewski is here, and Almond Brown was here, and Speaker McClinton. Firearms are regulated by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The lawyer, Renee Garcia, our solicitor, she's going to go through. We got a spanking recently, I think. We did a ruling that we didn't like or something that occurred. But this one right here, she never gives up. But with all due respect, if we could pass, I'm taking you back. I'm not sure what's happening now. How common sense is the mandatory reporting of lost and stolen guns? Where's Ron Waters? He was mandatory reporting of lost and stolen guns. If your car is stolen, what do you have to do? You report your car stolen so that you're covered. It's a value. We wanted the same thing with firearms because that's when people were getting court saying that their firearms were stolen and they weren't, or people were buying. What's the term when people you go buy? Straw purchasing. And we tried that. But if they could, I know you would pass the legislation and get it done, right? But Renee, I want you to talk about why we can.
I was gonna tell you this tomorrow at a meeting. There's a bunch of things I could talk about. I could talk about this all day, actually. But one of the things we did to protect against straw purchasing is we filed a suit against 3 dealers. They call them FFLs. 3 dealers. And what we learned recently from the ATF is that our lawsuit got their attention. And they did an investigation and they took away their license. One down, 2 to go.
2 to go, wow.
We also filed against the manufacturers of ghost guns. Those are the kits that come, you don't have to do a background check, they come in the mail. You can put together a gun in 15 minutes. They filed for bankruptcy. 2 down. There's also a process, which I think you were getting to, if you are a danger to yourself, that someone can file what they call a 302, and through that process, the court evaluates whether that you are able to have a firearm. So that is one way that we can get guns out of people's hands. But we are doing everything we can. Again, I could go case by case by case, but we completely agree. There's too many guns. The access is too easy. The access by youth are too easy. But we are hamstrung by the laws at the Commonwealth level. Please help us. He said that there's a very minimal amount of regulation that we can do at the local level. But we continue to fight. We continue to file cases, and we're not going to give up.
So we can't. So the question that you asked was very specific. You wanted to very specifically know, why couldn't we 3 times a year require legal gun owners to have to like come reach, check and get us like a certification for the Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia.
Evaluation.
Like evaluation. We don't have the ability to do that. But I'll tell you what this is. You can't make this opportunity up, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. This should be done at the federal level. It should be done across the nation. So every time you hear, and I don't want to get into politics, but every time you hear someone stand up and say, well, I believe we should turn the rights over to the states. States' rights. We should, whenever you hear that, that could potentially be code for something totally different. I mean, you're giving somebody an answer, but you're not really telling them the truth. If all of the states, and instead of us having a national rule, regs governing firearms in the greatest nation in the world, you tell us that we need to give that power and responsibility to the states. You hear, I'm a states' rights advocate. Know what they're talking about, because sometimes we don't. Thank you for that. And about the cleaning, we're not giving up. PHLTCB, Compassion, Community of Compassion, CDC, thank you all for being a partner. It's where we hire people in the community to clean neighborhoods. Program founded when I was a member of the City Council of Philadelphia. Fusion Track, Carlton Williams, Director of Clean and Green, Crystal Jacobs, Shipman Sanitation Commissioner, just started today, announced, I think twice a week, pick up South Philly and Center City. We want to expand it citywide. We agree with you. We're doing everything that we can, but the community is the only way that the culture will change. So wherever the young man went, you're absolutely right. That's what Director Williams, the education, you're on it. That's exactly what the director says. The city can't do it alone. When you're trying to change culture and how people respond, that's through education. And we're going to work on doing that. But thank you for that.
Good evening. My name is Katrina. I'm a resident in West Philadelphia, and my counselor is Jamie County. Thank you for being here today. My question for you is, how can you, in good conscience, advocate for voting yes on legislation that would push the Green Board when many of the concerns brought up tonight remain unresolved? You've brought up the street parking and public transit being inadequate, concerns around the CDA, and job creation and whether those proposed members will be held to. You have not addressed the concerns regarding increased traffic negatively affecting Jefferson Hospital's response times. My question for you is, why rush this? Why not find the answers to these concerns before pushing code through?
Katrina, thank you so very much for your questions. I appreciate them. That is because I don't think that us agreeing to and moving forward with plans to have an arena on Market Street, that it stops us from addressing any challenges. Some that exist right now, I just have to acknowledge that, some that exist right now without an arena being on Market Street. And I'm committed to working through them. And I don't care if they're positive externalities or negative externalities. I'm committed to addressing the challenges that we have here in the city of Philadelphia. And to me, Katrina, this is not rushed to me. The issue has been under discussion in the city of Philadelphia, research. I mean, long before I arrived. I just got here in January. But we've been at this now since I was a member of City Council. Remember, the first proposal was Delaware Avenue. But it wasn't my district, but I remember somebody giving a knee-jerk reaction. And they said, you know, no, immediately. The article went up saying it was being proposed potentially for Delaware Avenue. So, no, you can't. How you going to be the poorest big city in the nation, needing access to economic opportunity for all, and you're going to turn down a $1.3 billion private sector investment that requires no local match by local government, and you just say no before you even research it and or explore it. So I think we're going to continue to work through those things. Obviously, public safety is important. We communicated with Jeff. I don't know, Mike, if you want to just mention anything about Jefferson, but all of this is about moving our city forward, and we wouldn't do anything to place the public health and safety of the city of Philadelphia in jeopardy. It would just be irresponsible.
Yeah, I would just repeat, the folks at Jefferson told us they don't have concerns about this. That's reinforced from the conversations we've had with the Philadelphia Fire Department, who run the ambulances, and the Philadelphia Police as well, have not expressed any concerns about emergency response. I also want to point out that there is work that's going on under PennDOT, which is going to continue. So, like many developments throughout the city, it's one thing to get control of a site, it's one thing to get your zoning together. You still have obligations that you have to meet, which the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will enforce with respect to traffic. So that's ongoing. That's going to hold this development to account to make sure that they do fulfill the things they need to with respect to traffic. I'm not sure exactly what the parking concerns are that you felt weren't addressed. The one that I heard the most about was people parking on the street in these neighborhoods. That will be addressed. Again, I'll repeat it. The regulations will be reevaluated and reset so that there's really no ability for people to park on the street and attend events. We've already communicated with PPA. They're abundantly prepared to up their staffing of parking enforcement officers during events to make sure that no one can get away with it, and that they actually make money doing that, so they're abundantly incentivized to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thank you. No, appreciate that, Mike. Thank you so very much for your question. I appreciate it.